last 24 hours been like for you?
A little hectic, a lot of traveling, no sleep, but a blessing at the same time.
When did you kind of find out this was happening?
When you guys found out, really, around the same time, maybe a little bit earlier than you guys.
You got to Toronto pretty quick, though.
Yeah, once it went through, I had to get on the bird and get here ASAP.
Were there other teams that you were considering, and why Toronto in the end?
Yeah, it was some other teams I was considering. I had a good relationship with Earl Watson. He was my veteran. I was a rookie in Portland, so I have a very good relationship with him. I talked to Nick Nurse briefly, and I just felt like it was a good opportunity. This is a good team. I feel like I could come in and bring some leadership, some versatility, some bench playmaking and scoring, and just a lot of energy.
How did Earl sell Toronto?
Oh man, I've been in the league 11 years, so I've been here before. I know it's a pretty good city. I visited here in the summer times a couple times before when I was a younger player, and me and Earl have a very strong relationship, so I trust him a lot.
Do you know any of the players, your new teammates well?
Yeah, I know Thad a little bit. Him being from Memphis and me going to the University of Memphis for 2 years, we would cross paths and talk and hoop in the summertime a little bit.
When you're looking at a job like this for the last 20 games or so, is it playing time or a chance to show your skills to drive you to where you're at?
Definitely, some playing time to, keep proving myself, but also just to impact winning. I know we're trying to make a push to get into the playoffs, so it's just, trying to find a balance and a mixture for both.
And keep your name out in front of other 29.
Oh, for sure. Anytime you step on the NBA court, it's an audition for the rest of the league.
When you were looking at this team's roster and how you might fit, did you see a team that is maybe, better than its record?
Oh, for sure. They have so much talent. That starting five, and then you add Jakob Poeltl, and now bringing Gary off the bench. It's just a lot of firepower. So I just wanted to add any depth I could to this team. Definitely a team that is way better than their record. Everyone knows that around the league. Very talented, well coached, well-run organization. So hopefully we can just keep getting wins and have our record better and get to the playoffs.
You mentioned Thad, and he was in a similar spot last year where he came in mid-season, relatively young team, trying to make a playoff push, and a lot of those young guys really spoke about the value of his experience on the court and off of it. How much do you think the experience that you bring is going to be able to help these guys off the court?
I think I could do the same. I was talking to some of the young guys, in the locker room yesterday and on the bench. I've been to a Western Conference Finals. I've been to the playoffs, I think, the last 5 or 6 years. So, I know what it takes to get there and what kind of team we have to be and how well knit put together we have to be and close.
What have they told you about your role and what they want you doing on both sides of the ball?
Just coming in on offense, being myself, who I've been my whole career, a playmaker, a scorer, just being versatile, and defense, just get after it. Guard, being help, and just do the things I've been doing for the past 10 years.
Playing for the Nuggets, what was the identity that you kind of came to expect when going up against the Raptors?
A team that was very long and athletic, very versatile, a lot of guys that could do a lot of different things, and we knew they were going to play hard all night, make you work for it on defense. They kind of try to push you to start your offense way out on the court, and they're very physical, so we always had to be prepared for them.
And with a coach like Nick Nurse, going up against a guy that's always throwing different things at you, how much are you looking forward to being in that now?
Definitely looking forward. He has a great basketball mind, a lot of pedigree, a lot of respect around the league for a coach that really knows the game. So I'm looking forward to just growing my relationship with him also.
What are the next couple of games like for you heading back to Washington? And I guess after that they have Denver twice. Is that going to feel weird? And do you have the inside scoop on those teams?
It's not really weird in Washington. I was only there for half a year. Denver probably more because I was there for so long. But more knowledgeable of the Denver playbook than the Wizards playbook. But I know a couple tendencies there. So, any knowledge I can give to the team, I'll do my best.
It must be nice to have another sort of guy that, you can relate to even a little bit better than some of these young guys.
Yeah, I've known Will for years now. Him playing at the University of Memphis, and
training together and some workouts and stuff like that in the summers and stuff like that. So playing pickup and all that stuff. So, I've built a relationship and a connection. Then like our AAU teams battle against each other for the last couple of years. We actually beat his team in the UA finals a couple of years ago. So, so definitely, very familiar with him as a player. He's definitely going to help us. He's a tremendous player that can go out there and score, facilitate and make plays, and that's great for us. And then he has that veteran savviness that we need.
What's it like? You came into this team midway through last season. Did you share advice for him on getting acclimated?
Yeah, we've been talking the whole time, just trying to get him like acclimated, just telling him like, yeah, it's gonna be tough, when you're coming in, because he's gonna play multiple positions. So, for him, he's gonna have to learn, probably the 1 through 3 spot, and those are the toughest positions like within our offense and our flow. So, it's a lot of stuff to kind of take in, and that's how like last year I was, because like when I first came in, I had to learn literally 1 through 5.
But isn't the defense harder to learn?
I mean, I don't think the defense is hard to learn. As long as we keep it simple and we keep our principles, then I think we're fine. And I think the principle aspect of it is the easier part for him. The offensive standpoint is like there's so many rotational pieces and so many pieces that move, to different positions. That's the hard part, because he has to learn. Okay, if I'm on the court with Pascal's going to probably be the 3, or if I'm on the court with Garrett might be the 2, and I might be the 3. So those are the things that he has to be conscious of, and then he has to understand from a positional standpoint.
How impactful do you think Gary can be off the bench?
Huge. This can be huge. I mean, he's huge for us in any capacity when he steps on the court. He shoots the ball very well. He plays defense. He makes sure that his presence is felt on the court. He's always moving without the basketball, and I think those are key things for us. So bringing him off the bench, it just adds another layer to what we need coming off the bench behind the starters.
How much does having Yak as the starting center clarify everyone else?
It clarifies it a lot. I mean, having such a big body out there that can man the paint for us on both sides of the basketball is huge. Plus he's a really good passer as well. So he really gets us kind of in sync. He kind of flows and puts all the pieces together, and then and we all play off him very, very well.
Thad, in teams like this where kind of like on the cusp of this upcoming stretch of games are very crucial. What's the difference between teams that succeed in getting that playoff push and teams that just miss it?
The ones who impose their will on the game early. We're getting into the latter part of the season where some of the calls that we were getting at the beginning of the season we're not going to get now. So we have to be a little bit more physical. We have to be a little bit more aggressive. We have to make sure we're imposing our will on both sides of the basketball more than the other team. And I think that's what's going to help us.
You've seen guys over the course of your career move from a starting role to a bench role, and some can do it and some can't. Is Gary got that mindset?
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll definitely see. But I think he
did this year already.
Yeah.
Like it was about 10 games.
Yeah, I think he does. I think it's just a different way to approach the game. Now you're getting a first class seat to kind of see, how you're going to work yourself into the game as opposed to trying to work yourself in the game from the get-go. And I think that actually helps a lot.
How close can a 2-game series against Washington come to something like a playoff feel in terms of you guys are playing the same team back-to-back and you're in this playoff fight with them?
I think that's one of the best things that the league has done this year is put teams to where we can play them back-to-back. I think that gives us the best playoff feel before the actual playoffs start because you're preparing for one team as opposed to preparing for another the next night. And another the following night. So, for us, it's you get to see what the team's going to do, and then you get to see, what adjustments that we make and what adjustments that they make.
Having been through a few of them now this year, how tough is it to be able to win both?
That's the
of
toughest
those
part.
games?
That's the toughest part. The toughest part is, the same facts that I just said. They're thinking the same exact thing. Yeah. Like, what adjustments are they going to make? Oh, they did this. We're going to do this now. And that's what makes the game so tough, and that's what makes games so hard. But for us, like I said, it's always going to piggyback off us putting our will into the game and our force upon the other team.
Thad, you were brought in last year, besides what you bring on the court, to help the young guys come along off the court and their approach and all of that. What have you seen improve or change from maybe this time last year versus this time this year in these games coming up?
I think all the guys have had like really good production. Chris has gotten better. I think Precious has gotten better. With imposing his will athletically on the game, and then understanding time and score. Obviously, guys going to get out of character sometimes, and that happens throughout the course of the game. Even with me, but I think both of those guys have done a really good job of just imposing their will on the game for what they do, and what they are as players. You look at guys like Malachi. He's came off every time he's came off into the games. He's gave us a slight spark, whether he's making shots or he's initiating offense and getting us into something. So guys are getting better, and guys are understanding the game and the process a little bit more than they did last year. And then Scotty is always going to be phenomenal. I think the biggest thing with Scotty is, for me talking to him, is just him imposing his will on the game from an energy side on the defensive side. Defense is going to lead to his offense, and it always does. And every time he plays great defense, you see a stellar game out of him on the offensive end.
In Washington in quite a while. What are they? They're a new team. They're team in the league, apparently. What do they do?
Well, we usually wait till March till we see them. Listen, they've got obviously Beal, and they've got some backcourt talent. Kuzma's playing very well. Gafford's playing well. They're a talented, pretty deep team. That's with the rest of us in here, has some really good games, some good wins, some good moments, and has some slip-ups along the way. So this is a talented team that we're gonna have to go get ready for.
Talked all year about these two-game series, how they're so difficult to sweep because teams adapt in that off day. Is this one carry more weight because of when it is in the year?
Yeah, it does. I think it certainly does now, and because of where we are in relation to each other in the standings as well, for sure. I don't even know how those two-game things have gone this year. Most of them have been splits.
Yeah.
Did we get one sweep or not? I don't know. Yeah, most. Yeah.
Against Orlando, and I think
There you go.
Won both.
I guess you won the two in Charlotte.
2 against Charlotte. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Take them one at a time.
Is it hard to sweep those things though because you have that off day?
Well,
like a playoff day?
Well, I think that there's that in there. I think when I was in the minor leagues, we did it all the time, and it was just like you see it. It was split all around the league every weekend. It seemed like so. There must be something to it, right? It is just a bit of a mentality and all that kind of stuff that you gotta try to guard against and prepare for. So, but won't worry about two. We'll just worry about one, and then we'll worry about the other one.
That said, do you like that format? Would you like to see them stay with it?
I'm really neutral on it. I don't think I like it or I don't dislike it terribly. I don't think either. So I'm okay. I guess I'm a play the schedule the way they throw it at you, and there's always lots of scheduling things you have to fight through, right? And there's also usually an advantage or two here and there probably. Just hope it kind of levels out for everybody the same in the end.
You mentioned last night these were big games, and they are. How close can a early March game, 2 games against Washington, come to the feel of a playoff game?
Listen, I think that there's going to be a lot of intensity and fight and stuff out there for sure. I think on the floor, the players will be sensing it's similar for sure.
When you sign a guy like Will, and he just happens to be from teams that you guys are playing coming up with Washington and Denver, can you say what's the inside scoop? How much do signing guys help with those kind of things?
Well, I would say that we'll talk to him about some things. I think that usually in any of these situations that you put we put our game plan together like as per normal, and those guys kind of got an open door to speak during the films and all that stuff if they can add anything. And it's usually Our coaches do a lot of film work, so they're usually spot on with what they're saying, and then those guys can chip in a few things, but it helps when they do, for sure.
When you guys brought Thad in the middle of the year last year, a lot of the young guys kind of spoke highly about his leadership, picking his brain and all that. Do you feel like Will could do something similar in terms of bringing that veteran leadership?
For sure. I think that the one thing, I think when we saw that Will was available, the one thing doing our homework that everybody said was he's a great pro. Right, a great pro, great person, really important to us in that way, and I would assume he's been in the league so long that that means he'll be a good locker room leader and a good guy, good example for some of the younger players, for sure.
With one of those secondary rotations you had, Scotty, Gary, OG, Thad, and Yak, I was just wondering what you liked and maybe would like to see improve offensively with that group?
Who was that again?
Scotty, Gary, OG, Thad, Yak.
Yeah, I remember putting Yak in and moving Thad to the 4, which was something I've been wanting to do a little bit over the last couple of games, and really, as you know, I haven't got it done because Thad's hardly played. So I'm wanting to. I mean, Thad's natural position's a 4, right? So we've had him playing out of position most of the year, so looked more comfortable. I think. Going back to that, I don't remember exactly, but it seems to me that they went back a bit bigger with Vucevic, and that's why I wanted Yak to get back in, but it just wasn't Thad. He hadn't quite got a good enough stint in yet, and that's just how it turned out. I can't remember what happened. Was it a good stint or not? It seemed like it probably was. Because Thad, that was okay. Thad's both his stints were pretty good last night, so it's probably okay.
I think we can all see the defense making incremental gains on a nightly basis. Part of that, obviously, is Pirtle showing up. But why do you think? What has got the rest of them to that point where they're starting to do the right things?
Well, I think you're right. I think. I haven't boiled it down analytically too closely yet. I might do that on this trip, but it feels to me that the rim protection's gotten better, right? For one, and that's covering up mistakes, right? I mean, there's some covering up some high percentage plays that we were giving up. Go ahead.
A lot of that's Yak, though.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond yet, his.
Well, I think that. Knowing that you're going to get a few of those out there, I think has given these guys, get a few of those erased, is giving these guys a little bit more confidence, right? I just think that, again, good players lift up others, and I think knowing we've got a good defensive center and a guy that's protecting the rim and he communicates and he's smart and all that stuff, gets those other guys playing a little bit better.